Hey there, this is Joe Gelini. I am the drummer and band leader for two-time Grammy-nominated Mardi Gras Indian funk brass band Chawa from New Orleans, Louisiana.
Hell yeah. So Chawa, your music is a unique blend of New Orleans brass band traditions and Mardi Gras Indian culture. How did these two influences come together to create your distinctive sound?
Well, it's just the type of music that we love to play. We've got guys that come from the brass band, traditional jazz tradition, culture, and we have the band's fronted by two Mardi Gras Indians, Spy Boy Honey Bannister and Wild Man Taj DeRosier, and we just this tradition goes back to the streets, so it's really like street music, parade music, and we sort of bring the street to the stage.
Right on. So your latest album, Spy Boy, has been receiving a lot of critical acclaim. Can you tell us about the creative process behind it and what inspired it?
Sure. Well, just to clarify, Spy Boy was our second to last record.
Oh, okay.
Our latest record was called My People. And
Oh.
they've both been nominated for Grammys.
Okay.
And can you repeat the question?
Yeah. What was the inspiration behind it? Even on both at this point. What was the inspiration on both of those?
It's really about taking Mardi Gras Indian and brass band music, which is like in a sense like at its core folk music. Mardi Gras Indian music originally doesn't even have harmonic instruments behind it. It's a cappella call and response music with percussion, and it's really just about trying to modernize that tradition into a way that we interpreted it.
Okay. So the Mardi Gras Indian culture is a significant part of your guys' music, as you already shared. Can you share with us the importance of this cultural tradition and what it has influenced you on your musical journey?
Sure. Well, Mardi Gras Indians are called Mardi Gras Indians because they mask with their new suits on Mardi Gras Day. It's a black masking culture, tradition that comes from Africa. It's based on slaves that were escaping the plantations only to find that they had to try to survive in the bayous and the swamps, around New Orleans, which is like a prison itself. And then the Native American population, who were also being oppressed and victims of genocide, all those atrocities, they took in the escaped slaves, and they created these maroon communities where they both lived together and had families, and in most cases a lot of the Mardi Gras Indians that come out are a descendant of those tribes. So what they do is on Mardi Gras Day, they pay homage to their ancestors by adorning these handmade suits, which are, these beaded mosaics that are hand sewn, and they have feathered crowns, and they do some of the Native American traditions, and it's sort of a combination of a patois like French, Creole, Native American, and it's based on kind of essentially like songs of freedom about showing their own independence.
Yeah.
Because black people weren't allowed to participate in the white segregated crews, Mardi Gras, the crew with a K, and so this is like a backstreet culture of being able to sort of also hide in plain sight, because Native Americans were being oppressed. So if they were dressing up on Mardi Gras Day, they were often mistaken as revelers because everyone's in costume in New Orleans on Mardi Gras Day. So they could hide in plain sight and also celebrate their traditions and pay homage to their ancestors.
Okay. That's beautiful, man. I have a lot of respect that you guys keep that tradition strong and you guys are pushing it. And even on your sets, it really shows the passion that you guys have for that entire movement. And it's beautiful. So your performances are also known for their high energy and infectious rhythms. How do you manage to create such an electrifying atmosphere on stage?
We're just having a party and everybody's invited. We really, I mean, we love what we do. We love the music that we play. We feel very fortunate to be able to tour the world and be able to be ambassadors of New Orleans. And, you know, everybody knows that New Orleans is, you know, music is our medicine, just like one of our songs that we have. You know, music is the sort of cure-all for all of our different, you know, it cures what ails you. So that's kind of our vibe, is like we show up and we have a great time and we're inviting everybody else to share that experience with us.
I love that. Can you describe the role and improvisations that plays into your music and how it adds the spontaneity in your live performances, like the spontaneous, you know, things that you guys do? In some of the sets, it's completely different. It's almost like every set is completely different on what you guys do live. And like you said, it's like you guys are like just having a party and inviting everybody. But like, how do you guys accomplish that in general? Like, do you guys talk about it prior at all, or is it just like spur of the moment?
That's a good question. I would say that it's by performing and rehearsing and writing and recording together. I mean, it's a pretty intimate environment, so you get to, you know, when you're on the road, you're just constantly, you're basically living with the people that you're working with. You know, you're in a van, you're on an airplane, you're in a hotel, you're eating together, you know, whatever the case may be. And, you know, you have to have an empathetic relationship with the people that you're playing with, because 90% of what you're doing is just hanging out.
Yeah.
So I think that reflects, you know, the personal nature of the interactions on stage, because we're always interacting with each other in real life, you know, like it's just an extension of that. So if I know somebody who's having a tough day, you know, I might go and, you know, check on them, see how they're doing, and, you know, just ask them what's going on. And, you know, we're traveling, it's difficult, so we're always like kind of like trying to help each other with the energy, you know. Like I just got over a cold while we were on the road, and, you know, people were checking on me and asking me how I was doing, and vice versa with other people. So it's like the same thing when you're improvising. You're like trying to build up that energy and that rapport and that empathy, so that that person that is soloing, for instance, really feels like they can step out and take risks, right? Still be themselves, and that they're going to be supported no matter what happens.
Yeah, it's beautiful to hear that you guys have that great energy off stage, not just on stage. It's not really, it's not an act, it's just you guys.
You have to.
That's beautiful, man. I love it. So your guys' music incorporates elements like funk, soul, Afro-Caribbean rhythms. How do you guys approach blending these genres while still staying true to the New Orleans brass band tradition?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that if you listen to traditional New Orleans jazz music, it's all based off of what was contemporary at the time. So if you go back to listening to, you know, early jazz or ragtime, that music was, you know, the stride piano players like Gelini Jelly Roll Morton. Like that music came out of a certain environment, you know, like the originally the music that was popular at the time were like the marches, you know, coming from John Philip Sousa and you know, these very like late 1800 marches. And what happened was that in New Orleans they were taking these European band and orchestra instruments, and then, you know, brass, woodwind, percussion, and then they started to take the African rhythms and start to play them so that they were, you know, if the original thing was like rap pop rap pop rap da 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 da, then the rhythms that came from Africa had more of like a triplet feel, so it would be like they started changing it and playing it in brass bands as like and that was based off of clave, which comes from Africa and the Caribbean and all the different parts of the African diaspora. And you know, the beat, the accent would always be at the end of the phrase, so it would be like da 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 da, instead of where most American music starts on the downbeat with the accent. So that gives it sort of that funky nature, so that like we're always carrying that thread of the feel, you know. So whether you're playing When the Saints Go Marching In or Casanova, you know, the Rebirth Brass Band cover of the Gerald Levert song, it's always covering those elements where the claves go da 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 da, or ga ga da da ga 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 da 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 da.
That's a great response, man. I feel like you could do scatting if you have you done scatting before?
I haven't tried yet.
I feel like you would kill it, man. I really do. So maybe that'd be something you could just play around with in the future.
I'll think about it. I appreciate this.
So the lyrics in your guys' songs often tackle social and political issues. How do you use music as a platform for expressing your views and connecting with your audience?
Well, can you ask that question? Can you repeat that question?
Yeah, no problem. So your guys' lyrics in your songs often tackle social and political issues. How do you guys use your music as a platform for expressing your views and connecting with your audience on that level?
Yeah, well, I think that we just try to write stuff that we're passionate about. You know, obviously in 2020 we had you know, a huge civil rights, social justice movement with you know, that was sparked on by many years of you know, black folks being you know, killed by police, and you know, George Floyd was sort of that was an incendiary moment for the whole country, and certainly for us. And I think that you know, a lot of the music that we have is, you know, these are essentially, at its core, Mardi Gras Indian chants are about, music and culture is about freedom. So at its base, it's always got something, you know, one foot tied to that. And I think we just take whatever we're writing, what we're feeling at the time, and it just happens to be that. You know, like, I think that we're, you know, when you're on the road, when I'm on the road, being you know, someone who's, you know, got the naturally like white privilege versus a lot of my bandmates who are people of color. You know, I see like I get to see a lot of the subtle racism and inequities and prejudices that happen, whether you're checking into a hotel or whether you are, on an airplane or you are trying to go backstage and you forgot your pass or whatever there are all sorts of these subtle nuances of racism that happen, and I suppose that my contribution is that I try to document that as best I can, and as a writer, and I encourage the other guys to be able to express their opinions about that in the music. And I think it's just an organic thing. I don't think it's a situation where we necessarily come in with a pretext about it.
Yeah, it's kind of like what you said. It's just how you guys are. It just is. You know what I mean? It's another beautiful answer, man. Thank you. So, New Orleans is renowned for its vibrant music scene. How has the city influenced your music, and what sets it apart from other musical cities?
Well, New Orleans is the cradle of American music. Mardi Gras Indian music, ragtime, jazz, rock and R&B, blues, rock and roll, hip hop. All of these styles of music have been either directly invented in New Orleans, or they have been nurtured heavily in New Orleans. And I think that music from the Black Church and from the blues mixed with Mardi Gras Indian music and traditional jazz, and the first rock and roll records were recorded in New Orleans. Little Richard and Fats Domino. We take elements of all that stuff is celebrated in the city. In New Orleans, the tradition is the thing that keeps it all alive. The musicians keep it alive, the culture keeps it alive, the social pleasure clubs, have second lines every Sunday, and therefore it's a vibrant part of the community. Mardi Gras Indians come out on Mardi Gras Day and St. Joseph's Night and Super Sunday, Jazz Fest and French Quarter Fest. Jazz Fest especially because they have sort of a mission to promote New Orleans music, heritage, culture. So, it's really, it's the only place in the world you're going to go find like a stage dedicated to Mardi Gras Indians or dedicated to New Orleans brass bands. And I think as a city, it's just sort of like the way that we celebrate, the way we mourn. We have second lines when, to honor people and mourn people when they die, and we have second lines to celebrate, marriages and anything. You can have a second line for anything.
Yeah.
So, I think it's just part of. I think we're just, just being a sort of an extension of what New Orleans already does on a daily basis.
Just celebration of everything, celebration of life in death and in new life. I love that too. All right. Well, collaboration is an important aspect of the music industry. Can you share any memorable collaborations that you guys have had and how that influenced you guys?
Sure. Recording wise, we've on our first album we had Sugar Boy Crawford's grandson, DeVell Crawford, sing and perform on the song Jock-A-Mo, and our singer Honey is cousins with DeVell. So, and then Honey's dad, Irving Bannister Sr., rest in peace, he was a highly influential guitar player, both live and in the studio, and he was on the original recording of Jock-A-Mo, Sugar Boy, and we got all three of them on the track together. That was when Honey's dad was still alive, and so that was sort of a celebration of a tradition in life. We've also had some amazing special guests on the different records. In addition to that, on the last album we had one of my mentors, Mr. Alvin Yale Bloodhart, who's an amazing guitar player, musician, singer. He sang and played guitar on the cover of Bob Dylan's song Masters of War, and that was really brilliant. And we've had some other really amazing singers. One of our friends, Danica Hart, she's now, her group, she sang on our album Spy Boy. She sang on Hey Baby and sang some duets and backgrounds and stuff like that. And her band Chapel Heart is blowing up right now, and they're like really big on the country music scene in Nashville, and they're very unique, and they're breaking the glass ceiling, and being a female trio, and then also being black artists. They're really breaking down barriers for country music, and so that was really special. And we just recently had a collaboration with our friend DJ Shub, who's a First Nation DJ. He did a remix of our song My People, and he combines First Nation indigenous music with electronic music, and so we had a collaboration for the Mardi Gras Indian music with his music and production. That was really special, and we're hoping to release some more stuff with him in the future.
Awesome. So, Chawa's live shows are known for their colorful costumes and dynamic stage presence. Can you tell us the significance of the costumes and the visual aspect of your performances?
Sure. Well, the Mardi Gras Indians will be the first to tell you that they're not costumes. They call them suits.
That's what I was waiting for.
And they're handmade. It takes them a whole year to make them. They're made from canvas, and they're sewn. They sew mosaic designs with very, very small beads that are like size 10 beads, and they actually will sew them with. They'll sew them with a needle and dental floss a lot to make sure that they are completely intact. They can survive anything.
Yeah, I didn't know about the dental floss thing.
Yeah, that's a little pro tip.
That's crazy. Yeah, that was a trick question too, because I wanted that response, because a lot of people, online will say costumes, and I like, you're just such a brilliant man that can really educate this situation a lot better to people online, in my opinion.
Thank you.
So, as a band, how do you guys honor the New Orleans traditions of music while pushing the boundaries and experimenting with the new sounds, like you just said, with the electronic music and everything?
Well, I think that sort of like I mentioned earlier, that the tradition is always something that's being upheld in New Orleans, but at the same time, part of the tradition is being able to do something in a new light or a new context, a modern context. Because at the beginning, all of these things were, things that we could say are traditions were really just like groundbreaking musical events. Like I said, you have ragtime, blues, gospel, Mardi Gras Indian, jazz, rock and roll, R&B, all of all the way up to hip hop, and at one point, all of those things, you might think Fats Domino is sort of like maybe dated or old, but I mean at the time it was groundbreaking. I think that we just try to carry on the tradition of doing it in our own voice, in our own time, with our own message, and just try to keep that tradition going.
And what would you give as a message to like young artists right now in New Orleans that are trying to come out as a Mardi Gras Indian band like Chawa? What advice would you give them?
Well, I would just say, no matter what, you got to tell your own story. So it's, they say that good artists copy and great artists steal. But I would say that it was important for me when I was coming up with Chawa to try to honor the tradition, but also be able to do it in my own way and create my own sound as the artistic director of the band. And I think that it's got to be bigger than the sum of its parts. So my advice really is to whether you're doing it as a band or as a collective or as whatever different sort of format that you have, is that just try to be unique. Try to tell your own story, and then if you're being yourself, nobody can take that away from you.
Damn straight. And is there anything that you would like to share about anything coming up in the future? Anything you want to plug coming up? Any tours coming up?
We have, we're actually, right now, we are a day away from flying to Europe for our first European tour.
Okay. Playing
at North Sea Jazz Festival, which is really a bucket list for us. We've been really unable to tour Europe up until now because of, obviously, the pandemic, and it's good. I would just say to people, try to support artists however you can, support live music, support recorded music, and in an age of streaming and social media, even if you don't buy the music, you can like the pages, you can share content. One thing that I would like to see more of is other bands trying to support each other by sharing each other's work, and and it can be fun, like just trying to share another artist and being like, these guys are really inspiring us to do our thing better and to have fun with it and to create more. I think it's just about try to go out and support artists when they're in your hometown. Buy tickets to the show, buy merchandise, go buy a t-shirt, whatever you can do, because we're in a era where just traveling and inflation and the cost of everything has gone so high that it's made the margins for touring like very, very slim. And I feel like we're very fortunate to be able to afford to do it, but most artists can't.
Right.
So support your favorite artists in whatever way you can, and just try to keep live music going, keep it alive.
Hell yeah, man. Well, thank you so much, Joe, for giving me this time and sitting down with me and doing this interview, man.
My pleasure. Thanks
You're
for
a
having me.
brilliant genius, and it was just an honor for me to be able to sit down and be educated in such a way.
Oh man, I'm just repeating what the elders told me, So
If you don't pass it on, though,
yeah, I hear you.
Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.